Welcome to Did You Hear That? A podcast presented to you by Pensacola Paranormal Research Group. Sit back and enjoy today's podcast with your host, Jason Balbuena. It's time to go on a ride. Did You Hear That? Is now live. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Did You Hear That? Presented by the Pensacola Paranormal Research Group. I'm your host for Did You Hear That, Jason Balbuena, and today we are going to go just out of Florida. We're going up to Tennessee. This is entitled The Unquiet Halls of the Old South Pittsburg Hospital. Location, Old South Pittsburg, Tennessee. So in this episode, we're going to go and take a look at the Old South Pittsburg Hospital. And we're going to give you a little bit of background on the hospital itself, just so you know what it's like. So let's get into Old South Pittsburg Hospital. There are many known spirits in the hospital, but we're going to touch on a few of the, we're going to touch on those known spirits. We have Buddy, who is known as the Playful Boy, the Tall Shadow Man. He is the Aggressive Doctor. We also have Jim, who is the caretaker of Old South Pittsburg Hospital, and Nurse Betty. So let's go ahead and get into this. Close your eyes. Hear the silence. In an abandoned hospital, that is the most terrifying sound of all. A quiet that screams of past pain, desperate prayers, and the countless souls who took their last breath in these 68,000 square feet of concrete and decay. Welcome to Did You Hear That? Today we are in South Pittsburg, Tennessee at the infamous Old South Pittsburg Hospital. Now the hospital opened in 1959 and it closed in 1998. This facility served a small town, but its history runs so much deeper, down to the very natural springs that flows beneath its foundation and the Civil War conflict that soaked the land. From a playful phantom children wanting a game of peekaboo to a towering aggressive entity that wants to drive the living out, OSPH is a high-volume hub of paranormal activity. Tonight we enter the unquiet halls of one of Tennessee's most haunted locations. To understand the haunting, we have to take a look at the land itself. Before the hospital, this area was rich in history, sitting on a natural spring that likely drew both Native American tribes and, significantly, Union soldiers who used the land as a base during the Civil War near the bloody Battle of Chickamauga. That's centuries of intense human activity layered on this small foothill. Paranormal theories often suggest that running water, like the spring underneath, can act as a conductor, amplifying energy. Add to that the residual trauma from Civil War conflict. The stage was set before the first brick was laid in 1959. The hospital, founded as the South Pittsburg Municipal Hospital, by 4 local medical professionals. For 4 decades, it was a central point for births, emergencies, illnesses, and inevitably death for the entire community. When a hospital closes, that emotional history is often left behind. Old South Pittsburg Hospital slowly shut its doors in the mid to late 90s, transferring remaining patients to nearby Chattanooga. A closed hospital is a perfect scenario for a haunting. The pain remains, but the purpose is gone. The spirits tied to the location are often confused, still following routines, or tragically, still suffering. We have to mention the sad, enduring mystery surrounding one of its founders, Dr. J.B. Haveron. Now, while on duty at the hospital, his wife Caroline was tragically murdered. To this day, the case still remains unsolved. It's an additional profound layer of grief and unresolved trauma that investigators believe is tied to the hospital's dark legacy. The residual ghosts of Old South. Old South Pittsburg Hospital has a terrifying variety of spirits, from the benevolent to the overly hostile. They are grouped by floors, almost like they're still tending to their duties. On the second floor, we have the most beloved and most frequently encountered, a spirit known as a young toddler, affectionately known as Buddy. He's said to be between 2 and 3 years old and typically hangs out on the second floor, particularly near the former maternity ward. The heartbreaking story is that Buddy was rushed to the hospital after mistaking a cluster of baby snakes for worms and suffering multiple venomous bites. He sadly succumbed to the poisoning. Investigators have captured EVPs, or electronic voice phenomena, where a small voice has been recorded saying his name and the words worms. Buddy is purely interactive. Investigators have had objects moved, small toys tipped over, and even felt tugging on their clothes. His spirit is believed to be very intelligent, and he often asks the living to play with him or request to be held, perhaps a sign of a child who died alone and is still seeking comfort. The third floor Shadow Man. Now, let's move to the most hostile entity in the building, primarily on the third floor. This is a massive dark shadow figure, often reported as being up to 7 feet tall, believed to be a former surgeon or doctor. This spirit is pure menace. He is the one who most frequently produces full-bodied apparitions, but he is not welcoming. Witnesses and investigators have reported disembodied voices yelling at them to get out or leave when in his presence. The third floor was the former emergency room, a place of intense stress and life or death decisions. The aggressive nature could be residual stress or an intelligent entity who simply dislikes the presence of the living in his domain. Many paranormal teams have reported equipment malfunctions, a crushing sense of dread, and even being followed by this tall, dark figure. Let's take a look at the first and second floors, Jim and Betty, the caretakers. 2 other prominent spirits are thought to be the former staff, still dedicated to their roles. Nurse Betty is often seen on the second floor near the nursing station. People report seeing a shadow figure of a woman who appears to be watching them, standing guard or walking the rounds. And then there's Jim, the longtime caretaker and janitor. Jim is believed to have passed away in his room at the hospital from diabetic shock. Investigators, knowing his fondness for classic rock, will play 70s music in the kitchen and cafeteria, his usual haunts, and often get responses through knocks or sounds of equipment moving. The story suggests Jim is a kinder, more familiar presence. Evidence and encounters. Paranormal claims. Old South Pittsburg Hospital is a paranormal researcher's dream, consistently delivering evidence. It's been featured on shows like Destination Fear and Kindred Spirits because the activity is constant. Staff and investigators routinely witness hospital items moving on their own, wheelchairs rolling, menacing carts shifting, and beds creaking as if someone's climbing in. The corridors are rife with dark, fleeting shadow figures. Unlike apparitions that resemble a person, these are often pure black masses moving with speed and purpose, especially near the old operating rooms. This is where Old South Pittsburg Hospital gets terrifying. Investigators have reported feeling unseen hands touching or grabbing them, a chilling sensation of being patted on the shoulder, or a full body push from an unseen force. Whoops. Sorry, guys. The standard ghost noises, babies crying, muffled voices, footsteps on empty floors are constant. But investigators also report the sound of heart monitor beeps and the clang of dropped metal instruments when there is no power to the devices. These aren't one-off claims. The sheer volume of reported activity across different groups and staff suggests a powerful, deeply enchanted haunting. The blending of residual energy from decades of life and death stakes with intelligent spirits like Buddy and the surgeon create a truly volatile environment. The Old South Pittsburg Hospital stands today as a monument to the cycle of life and death, where the curtain never quite closed. It is a place of conflicting energies, the warmth of a child seeking connection, the protective watchfulness of former employees, and the sheer terror of an entity demanding solitude. Hospitals are inherently places of intense human emotion. Old South Pittsburg Hospital simply bottled that intensity for 4 decades, built on a land that already had centuries of conflict. When you combine the Civil War's dark history, the natural springs' conductive power, and the countless souls who passed within, you get one of the most active and frightening paranormal hotspots in America. If you ever find yourself in South Pittsburg, Tennessee, you can visit the Old South Pittsburg Hospital Paranormal Research Center, now run by a dedicated paranormal investigator who welcomes visitors. Just be sure to go in with respect, a strong flashlight, and a good reminder that not every spirit here wants to play nice. So we'd like to thank you for tuning into this episode of Did You Hear That? As we took a look at the Old South Pittsburg Hospital in South Pittsburg, Tennessee. I can tell you for sure that through investigations that I have done there with my team and countless others that have went with us as well, it is a very active paranormal hotspot. We got some amazing evidence from this place as well, and it is an amazing haunt. If you ever want to go to here, I suggest you go visit their webpage, check them out, and get yourself a team or tag along with a team and go to this place. It is amazing. So I'd like to thank you for tuning in to today's episode, this week's episode, and we'll see you on the next episode of Did You Hear That? Thank you, and good night.